Huskies in their home silver jerseys, Syracuse in their road blues. UConn a win here, ties their own NCAA record with a 70th in a row. And Syracuse, boy, a team on the bubble could secure an NCAA bid with the upset here.
Well, they need to come out here and at least compete and do the best they can. And oftentimes these games are broken down into segments. UConn has a history of coming out and firing very strong. As we see in the first half, already 1 of 2 from three-point line.
Tiffany Hayes drills it, the sophomore from Lakeland, Florida. Averaging 15 a game in her last 5 outings, and some pressure now from UConn. Kick from Caroline Doty. The Syracuse band making its presence known here with the Let's Go Orange chant early on. For a Syracuse team that tied for 8th in the conference this year. So if you're talking about a league that is worthy of 8 bids, they would get one of them. Erica Morrow, hard off glass. Charles with a rebound, and on the run, Maya Moore. She has just absolutely destroyed Syracuse in the 3 games that she has played against them in her career. The quick steal and 2 more.
Beth, we haven't played a minute of basketball, just over a minute. It's already 7-0. This is the Orange's worst nightmare. This is exactly what they told us last night they didn't want to happen. A quick start for Connecticut and quick points, turnovers into points. And one of the keys that just didn't happen was to rebound well defensively. You've got to make sure you keep Connecticut off the boards and secure your own rebound. Otherwise, this is going to be a very long day. You also got to limit turnovers. It's no secret Connecticut puts the pressure on you, but how quickly they score those points off turnovers is something to see.
Pass too hot for Tina Charles to handle. And now Nicole Michael trying to gut it out with the heel injury that's been bothering her late in the season. Ward off balance shot. Knocked out of bounds by UConn. It will be Syracuse ball.
Syracuse, number 44, Tyson Thomas.
Tyson Thomas checking into the lineup. Very good freshman contributions this year from Syracuse as we take a look at the keys for Connecticut.
Well, they went ahead and negated that key very quickly. I remember last year them coming in and they had problems shooting early in the first half, but they've been able to shake that pretty easily. And of course, those points in transition created either off that quick rebound or the turnover has been a key, one of the keys to Connecticut's success this year.
Caroline Doty through traffic, and now Maya Moore. Tiffany Hayes looking for 3. Gino Auriemma doesn't like to see that. He would prefer a touch on the inside and then a kick out perhaps as Tyson Thomas knocks down the jumper. Maya Moore, she had a 38-point, 20-rebound performance in the regular season win over Syracuse and dropped 40 on the Orange in this building last year in the regular season. Morrow rejected by Tina Charles.
Number 2, Alicia Hall, number 23, Tyler.
Look at what UConn has been doing to the opposition throughout the course of the streak, including 21 wins over ranked opponents.
It is really amazing when you step back to think of their ability to beat ranked teams and top 10 ranked teams. And in fact, St. John's, who unfortunately lost today to Notre Dame, was the closest team to come this year within 14. And St. John's is a pretty good darn team. So is Stanford, so is Notre Dame. And they took care of business against those teams.
Maya Moore. Look at Kalena Green hustling for the rebound.
Well, you talk a lot about Maya Moore and Tina Charles, but in my mind, Kalena Green is the 3rd superstar on this team. She's so athletic, and we saw how quickly she left to get that rebound. She's one of the best athletes in this team and gets very close to the rim off the dribble drive.
Morrow in transition, front rims it. And here comes the breakout, 3-on-2 Connecticut. Moore is the trail. Hayes missed an opportunity there to get it to Doty, the three-point shooter on the run. And now Tina Charles, the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in UConn history with her first basket.
Syracuse sent 2 defenders to try and go after Maya Moore. They sort of took care of business, but Tina Charles was there to clean it up. And if there's 2 players you've got to understand that need to have bodies on, it's Tina Charles and Maya Moore. But Connecticut as a team is such a good offensive rebounding squad. Almost everybody crashes the boards and tries to get there.
An offensive rebound for Syracuse. The Orange have hit just 1 of their first 10 shots in a Connecticut defense that is the real backbreaker for opponents. Pretty in transition. Doty to Moore to Charles. The Orange in trouble early. 5 minutes gone here in the first half. Morrow once again the quick shot in the possession. Moore gets the bounce. Maya Moore, 6 points. She's 7 away from 2,000. And another takeaway, Moore with Green. Boy, every possession, every loose ball contested by Connecticut in the reach-in foul.
Foul is charged to Connecticut number 3, first personal foul.
The Huskies, after the double bye, well rested and attacking early, 15-2 with the transition basket for Charles. 15-2, and let's go courtside now with Bob Picozzi.
Okay, Beth, just call it role reversal. En route to his first head coaching job at the collegiate level, Quentin Helsman of Syracuse spent a year as an assistant at Alabama, and his boss there was head coach Rick Moody. Now, Moody retired following the 2005 season, winning his coach in Crimson Tide history. 2 years later, Helsman convinced him to come out of retirement and become an assistant at Syracuse. Now, Helsman says he certainly doesn't consider Moody an underling. In fact, he still considers him a mentor. Moody, meanwhile, no longer considers Helsman his pupil, but rather as a trusted colleague. And the two are in agreement on at least one thing, Beth and Brooke. This whole role reversal thing works for them.
It's worked to the tune of a 22-9 season for Syracuse, and certainly in the discussion for an NCAA tournament bid.
And one of their goals was to come out here and compete. And so far, I'm not seeing much of that. But what really has hurt Syracuse, in my opinion, was the non-conference schedule. They came into the Big East at 13-0, but did not play any big teams. And at this point in the season, you've got 8 Big East wins, which is a big accomplishment in this conference. But not when you're sitting where you are and fighting to get off the bubble in the NCAA tournament. That's some of the things that they look at when they consider who's going to go and who isn't.
The one thing they do have is the late season win over a top 10 opponent in West Virginia. Struggling mightily here in the early going. They are now 1 for 12 against the Husky defense. Morrow tried to keep it alive, and Kayla Alexander, who has been a real bright spot for them off the bench, the freshman from Canada.
And they went to her early when she got in the game yesterday. And right now, Erica Morrow has taken 7 shots and has been unsuccessful on all of them. So I think right now, if you're Syracuse and if you're Erica Morrow, don't try and force the issue. You got to see what develops in your offense and try and get it inside. Do what worked for you yesterday, which was play a lot more patient than they are now.
Maya Moore called for the walk. Championship week continuing on ESPNU tonight with a doubleheader. DePaul, West Virginia, and Rutgers, Georgetown. It's the Big East Women's Championship presented by New York Life as part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPNU and ESPNU HD. Maya Moore in the early going with 6 points for Connecticut. She needs 3 more to pass Renee Montgomery, and is just 7 away from 2,000 for her career.
Renee Lampkin is in for the Orange, replacing Tasha Harris.
She's on pace. You talk about one of the most versatile talents that the game has ever seen, to finish in the top 5 in Husky history in scoring, rebounding, block shots, assists, steals, and three-point shooting.
Looking at her stats this morning, and I was writing them down on this chart, I always look for who are the assists first. I write them down in red pen, and Maya Moore's got red pen all over my chart. I mean, she is literally doing everything for this team. But you also talk about how balanced this Connecticut Huskies team really is. But Maya Moore is so talented, and you know, you continue to give her all kind of accolades. And I'm sure there's people out there thinking, all right, we've heard enough. But this is one of the best basketball players you'll ever get a chance to see. And you've got to give her that kind of credit.
Alexander with her second basket. She's got 4 of the Syracuse 6. Moore with a touch, flashing to the elbow, short on that shot. Maya's just 3 of 8 now in the game. But Syracuse as a team, 3 for 16. We'll take a timeout with 11:48 to go in the half. The Huskies looking for their 70th win in a row, and they're up early on the Orange. 17-6 the score. UConn leading Syracuse with under 12 minutes to go here in the first half of quarterfinal action. They are looking for their 70th consecutive win, are the Huskies, in a streak that started at the beginning of last year. Win number 1 was against Georgia Tech. Last year's Big East Championship gave them 33 in a row, and then they finished out the season 39-0 with a national championship over the Cardinals in St. Louis. Just before Christmas of this season, a big win over Stanford for number 49. They won the regular season title against Georgetown in this building for number 68. And then won their final regular season game to make it 69 straight coming in today. It's been a streak that has involved 56 different schools in 18 different states. 19 of those wins have come out at Gamble Pavilion and stores. 18 of them have been here at the XL Center over the course of the streak. And the closest anybody's gotten is a 10-point deficit. Notre Dame and Rutgers did it a year ago.
In this season, we talked about St. John's coming within 14. But there have been few teams to challenge Connecticut beyond even just a half of basketball. We saw Stanford do it for a half, Oklahoma do it for a half, and this will tell the story right here. Look at this. They have barely trailed during this streak at all. And Beth, you and I saw them trail for about 5 minutes when they played Georgetown just a week ago. And I couldn't believe it.
Lauren Dixon with the steal in the lane. 19-6 for UConn. Nicole Michael off the crossover, the leading scorer and rebounder in Syracuse history. Can't convert.
And we haven't had a chance much to talk about Nicole Michael because she went out of the game, their last regular season game against West Virginia with a foot injury. Has played very limited minutes since then. Missed the last 2 games, played a bit yesterday, but really just in spurts, Beth, and I know that her foot is still bothering her a ton. She's not showing it in her face, but you can tell by the way she's playing. That spunk and that elevation and her athleticism is not coming through. You've got to think that's all coming from the pain in her foot.
Tina Charles, the 16th UConn Big East Player of the Year, last year's most outstanding player at the Final Four. And in recent weeks, the highest praise you can get from Coach Auriemma. Said she's playing as well as anybody that we've ever had here. And if you're familiar with their history, she really struggled for the first couple of seasons, questioned whether or not all the abuse was worth it. And boy, it's paid off big time at the end of last season and into this year. She's been dominant.
And she's accepted that criticism. And she herself said, you know, my first 2 years here, I would take possessions off. There were times when Coach Auriemma said, hey, you guys are borrowing it. You're supposed to own it. Well, Tina Charles is owning the paint this season. She's just a force.
A lot of tough love from the coaches over the course of her career, and she has responded beautifully. Kelly Ferris with that last basket for Connecticut. Defensively, they are holding Syracuse to just 3 of 18 shooting. And it's going to go back over to Connecticut. Well, today we're interfacing with the fans on Facebook. You can go to Facebook.com/ESPNU and answer this question. Who you got as your #1 seeds? I think we can pencil in, we can probably Sharpie in UConn at this point.
No eraser needed.
Permanent marker as a #1. Who else you like?
I like Stanford, I like Nebraska, and I like Tennessee. And of course, those are names that are often used when you talk about women's basketball at #1 seeds, but really not a question right now, especially with Tennessee playing in the SEC championship.
I think the possibility would be, if you just touched on it, if Kentucky could upset Tennessee in the SEC final, and Duke holds on to beat NC State in the ACC championship, as Charles gets an and-one opportunity. Tina Charles now with 8 points and 4 rebounds already.
First personal foul. Team has 2. Renee Lampkin is back in for Syracuse.
Well, not much Tasha Harris is going to be able to do against that. I think she turned and was wondering how that foul got called on me, but did get a piece of the arm. I'll tell you what, I'm staying out of the way of Tina Charles. If she turns towards me, her elbows come down to about where my head would stand right up. I'm moving. Go ahead, Miss Charles. You can have that lane.
We get another opportunity here, under 9.5 to go. Charles with the touch, splits the double team, and lays it up and in. Tina Charles, 10 in the first half.
And Beth, she's so strong that even if you double or triple team her, she can create her own room just with her strength. And it's not a chart. She's just so strong. She creates separation to get herself a clean look. And we talked a lot about how good of a passing team Notre Dame is. But watch how well Connecticut moves the basketball, too. I mean, there's not much inefficiency to their offense.
More to Charles. Offensive foul called on Tina.
Number 31, Tina Charles. First personal. Team has 3.
Let's go inside the play right now, Brooke, and a look at Tina Charles offensively.
Well, with her length and athleticism, she makes herself so available to catch that pass. Maya Moore, with over 118 assists on the year, likes to have Tina Charles as a target. That's a stat stuffer right there.
Morrow. And the 3 ball is good.
That's a 3-pointer.
Lampkin's able to knock it in. Short corner. Maya Moore, 2 more. 8 now for her. 5 shy of 2,000. Huskies jumping out early. And the defense, another takeaway. Maya Moore on the run. And the pass knocked out of bounds by the Orange. 7:59 to play in the first. UConn trying to secure that 70th win in a row to tie an NCAA record. More on Gino from Bob Picozzi when we come back. 7-9, top-ranked UConn with the lead over Syracuse, under 8 to play in the half. Bob Picozzi's got more on Gino Auriemma.
All right, Beth, contrary to what many people think, Gino Auriemma's goal at the beginning of each season isn't to go undefeated. His goal's much more short-sighted than that. He wants each offensive possession to be perfect. Make the perfect cut, set the perfect screen, make the perfect pass, get the perfect shot. Then he wants you to play a perfect possession at the other end. Then repeat it over and over and over again. Now, his Huskies have yet to play 40 minutes of perfect possessions, but Beth and Brooke striving for each perfect possession. That's why UConn has won 69 games in a row. That and having Tina Charles and Maya Moore on the team.
He's got the top winning percentage all time, and Bob, we asked him about that, achieving perfection the other day. So you just can't get there. Well, why bother chasing it? And he said, well, if we had that kind of attitude, we'd all still think the world was flat. And he fancies himself an explorer. And they continue the pursuit of perfection. They were 39-0 last year, and they're looking to go 31-0 with a win here today.
Well, what I'm very impressed by is the way that he's been able to keep his kids so hungry and so focused on the next game. They do not take a play off ever. And if you want to talk about perfection, that's where it starts. Is you've got to come out ready to play every day, because every person and every team that you play against wants to make history, and they want to take you down. oftentimes he's talked about how pretty much the entire country wants to see Connecticut lose. And you don't see that on the faces of these young ladies that come out here to play. They are extremely focused, they're poised, and they play with a ton of confidence.
Bianca Murray at the free throw line for Syracuse. This is the second highest scoring team in Orange history. They scored 72.5 points a game this year. Only the 1980 team had scored more. So if they can get to the NCAA tournament, that would certainly serve them well. They've got some good athleticism. Well, let's hear from Coach Auriemma and what he told us about whether or not you can find perfection in basketball.
You can't. There's no definition for it because it doesn't exist in the world. Down here, unless there's a perfect flower or there's a perfect, somebody made a, discovery and they discovered the perfect, oyster or.
Professor Auriemma. Sounds like something I learned in philosophy back in the day.
Waxing eloquent on a variety of different subjects. Syracuse was out of bounds. Connecticut will keep it. Big East Coach of the Year this season for the 8th time, sharing it with Mike Carey of West Virginia. How does he stack up against the legendary John Wooden with those 10 championships with the UCLA men?
A bit of a ways to go, but I think it's certainly on his mind at this point. I think right now he's trying to catch up to one of his counterparts. It's Pat Summitt. She's got a couple more on him, doesn't she?
Very likely that they will both be #1 seeds in the NCAA tournament, which could mean perhaps a meeting in the national semifinals this year.
Wouldn't those fans love to see that? The old UConn, Connecticut-Tennessee rivalry back again.
More off glass. She's got 10. She's passed Renee Montgomery on the all-time scoring list, and she needs 3 more to 2,000. Alexander continues to impress. The big girl with a nice turnaround in the lane.
She's had double figures 15 times this season and is also averaging a couple of blocks. This is a kid who came into the season just hoping to get a few minutes on the floor, and what a tremendous presence she's been for Syracuse. Beth, she was all the difference in yesterday's game against Providence. He was the inside presence that they've needed. Syracuse, a team that loves to run in transition, create a bunch of shots off the drive and go after the offensive rebounds. We've had a tough time doing that today, but Kayla Alexander has been a bright spot for this team throughout the tournament.
Syracuse in blue, #1 Connecticut in silver here at the XL Center in Hartford. Quarterfinal round of the Women's Big East Championships. Beth Mowins, Brooke Weisbrod, Rebecca Lobo, and Bob Picozzi with Huskies can tie the NCAA record, which they hold at 70 wins in a row. The winner of this one moves on to face Notre Dame in the semis. That'll be tomorrow at noon, or tomorrow at 6 rather, on ESPNU. And if they can win here today, that would be for the record of 71 in a row.
Just got a note that Skylar Diggins in her press conference after today's game said, we just got to go in with as much confidence as we can and play our game. Because when you play Connecticut, sometimes it can feel like 100 years goes by before the game's over. I'm sure a lot of opponents have felt that exact same way.
Knocked out of bounds by Connecticut. Syracuse continuing to shoot here at a 20% clip, and another steal. Kalena Green. Tremendous ball control in the lay-in. Kalena Green's got 4. the fifth-year senior from South Carolina. 1,300 points, 700 rebounds, and 200 assists over the course of her career.
And a lot of these shots from Connecticut come just the way Kalena Green made it. Out in transition off a steal. And look at how proficient this offense. I mean, everybody on the floor shoots better than 40%. 3 of the starters, Beth, shoot better than 50% from the floor. That is incredible.
14 assists on 18 field goals for Connecticut, and they are up 24 here in the first half.
They pass the ball so quickly and efficiently, but how about a little more contested from Syracuse? I'd like to see them be a bit more active and aggressive on defense. Connecticut is just having their way getting the ball inside. It's been no issue whatsoever.
Stick around, too. We've got a couple more games for you tonight from the Big East Championships. DePaul, West Virginia, and Rutgers, Georgetown. The action will start at 6 o'clock. It's a part of the Big East Women's Championship presented by New York Life as part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPNU and ESPNU HD. Notre Dame a winner earlier today over St. John's. Skylar Diggins with 21 points to lead the way for the Irish, who have assisted on 72% of their field goals through the first 2 games of the tournament. And they will take on the winner of this one. Doty on the run for Dixon.
Well, both of those games tonight should be good ones, but the ones that I'm keeping my eye on, particularly DePaul, West Virginia, because DePaul went on the road and almost got the upset against a West Virginia team. And when DePaul's got things right and things clicking, they're another team that passes the ball very well. They shoot well from the outside, and they've got a great freshman in Catherine Harry that's got she's got nice footwork on the inside, and she can score.
Harry had 17 points and 8 rebounds in DePaul's win last night against Marquette. And the runner in the lane for the freshman, Tyson Thomas. Syracuse will extend the pressure a little bit. Good hustle by Hall, gets the takeaway. UConn gets it right back. Dixon all the way to Charles.
A gray blur just ran right by me, and when she stopped, I realized it was Lauren Dixon. Oh my goodness, is she fast.
Syracuse struggling right now with the transition defense. Huskies continue attacking. Look at Tina Charles stepping around. 9 for 10, 18 points in the first half for Tina. And the rejection of Morrow. Three blocks for Tina Charles, number 3 all-time in that department at Connecticut. Dixon for Charles. Syracuse at a loss for words right now. Welcome back to Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods and the 2010 Big East Women's Basketball Championship presented by New York Life Insurance Company. The Bushnell Arch in downtown Hartford. We are inside the XL Center, quarterfinal play at the Big East Tournament, and another Big East milestone going to Tina Charles, the USA Basketball Female Athlete of the Year. Tina's spending 39 days with both the World University team as well as the U.S. national team coached by Gino Auriemma. And she is the 16th Connecticut player to win Big East Player of the Year honors.
Tina Charles is starting to work her way into the names like Lisa Leslie. She is the next Lisa Leslie to me when I look at her development and how much she's grown as a player. And she's such a great person, too. I mean, she's so modest when you talk to her, as are UConn Huskies. They're always quick to give each other compliments. Yikes. Look at this. 28-15, Tina Charles and Maya Moore. Now, this is not the first time Tina Charles has had a first half where she's basically outscored the other team. She's got 3 other games this year where she's averaged 20 points and 8 boards just in the first half alone.
9 for 10, 18 points in 15 minutes for Charles. And Maya Moore, the 2,000 point watch, she needs 3 to get there. That's a rarity when you've got 2 players as teammates that are 2,000 point scorers. We saw it last year at the University of Maryland with Christy Tolliver and Marissa Coleman. A couple other noteworthy ones were the McGee sisters out at USC and the Miller twins at the University of Georgia. Hey, let's check in with Bob Picozzi. What do we got coming up at the half, Bob?
Okay, Beth, we're going to chat with Notre Dame coach Muffin McGraw on the Irish big win over St. in the first quarterfinal. Meg Bulger, who will be doing the color for tonight's doubleheader, will preview the DePaul, West Virginia and Rutgers Georgetown games. And we will also take a look at first half highlights and stats from this one. Rebecca Lobo and I will come your way coming up at the half.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bob. When we talk about the streak, who have been the most frequent victims in the last 69 games, well, Louisville has lost the most with 4. And Notre Dame is amongst a group of big teams that have lost 3 times during this streak. As Charles gets her 4th block. And we would be remiss if we didn't get in a Digger Phelps reference because, as you know, the 88-game winning streak for John Wooden was broken by a Notre Dame team. And the Irish may have a chance to break the women's streak tomorrow.
Yes, they've been known to put an end to a few streaks or so. And certainly the Irish cannot wait to have another chance because they're starting to get a little bit more competitive against this team, and they understand what a big challenge it will be coming in here tomorrow to a packed arena that a lot of people are going to be screaming for the team in gray. But Notre Dame has got a good chance to prove they're a better team than what they've been against Connecticut already twice this year.
They won at Notre Dame on March 1st, 76-51. And that was the first game back for Lindsay Schrader after she had missed a couple of games with the injury. Michael getting 1 of 2. Huskies jumped out early. They have been leading throughout. In fact, they've only trailed in Big East play for a total of 13 minutes and 45 seconds all year long. And for Notre Dame, if they do get the shot tomorrow, they know how to break a streak. 57, Oklahoma football. They snapped the 47-game winner. Then Digger in 1974 ending the 88 straight from UCLA and Bill Walton. Notre Dame awaits the winner of this one, and they might have a chance to prevent the Huskies from setting a new record at 71 in a row. Skylar Diggins right there in the middle of your screen, a big story earlier with 21 points to lead the way. Big second half for Notre Dame.
Skylar Diggins losing out on Rookie of the Year to Sugar Rogers from Georgetown. Now, nothing's been said about it, but you have to think Skylar might be playing with a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. She may have felt like she deserved that award, which could have gone to a couple freshmen this season. We've seen some spectacular play by the youngsters out there in the Big East.
Shanika Smith for St. John's had 23 earlier today. We'll see Sugar Rogers tonight. In the nightcap, Georgetown taking on a Rutgers team that's starting to pick up some steam. That's the final game of the day. You can catch that at 8 Eastern. But first up, it's DePaul and West Virginia in a matchup of a couple of teams that'll be in the NCAA tournament. It's the Big East Women's Championship presented by New York Life as part of Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods on ESPNU and ESPNU HD.
What are your thoughts on that second matchup between Rutgers and Georgetown?
Georgetown brings some tremendous pressure. We saw it here against UConn. They gave the Huskies a little bit of trouble for 20 minutes in the game late in the season. Rutgers, they proved they could score last night. They still got to prove that they can score every night out. You know they're going to come tremendously with the defense.
And definitely a consistency factor. It's been a problem for Rutgers all season long. And Brittany Ray has had to be the go-to scorer in so many situations. And let's not forget, this is the season that Epiphany Prince could have been a senior. She decided to leave to go play professional basketball.
Tina Charles, the front runner for National Player of the Year honors, is now 10 of 11, 21 points, outscoring Syracuse here in the first half. The Orange just unable to penetrate and get the ball into the lane. They are now just 18% here in the first half, and UConn for the last shot. Moore coming off some screens. Looking to step back, and she's called for the offensive foul.
Fouls charged to Connecticut,
Number 2 on Moore.
Offensive foul, her second, team has 8. That's Karina Green back in the lineup. Tasha Harris back in for Syracuse.
2.2 seconds for the Orange to work with before the intermission. The heave from Harris. That'll take care of the first 20 minutes. Tina Charles, 21 points. Maya Moore, 10. All Huskies in the first half. And they've got the lead, 44-17 in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament. Stay with us for the Big East halftime report, and we'll get you caught up on what's happening around the 2010 Big East women's basketball. Welcome back to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, and the 2010 Big East Women's Basketball Championship, presented by New York Life Insurance Company. Getting set to start the second half, UConn leading Syracuse 44-17. Welcome back courtside. Beth Mullins along with Brooke Weisbrod, and Brooke, right from the start, UConn sending the message, well rested after the two-round bye here to start out the tournament.
No question, and for Syracuse, that was their worst nightmare come true. They did not want to let UConn have a quick first half. They did, a bunch of points in transition, a lot of turnovers for Syracuse, and Erica Morrow 0 for 11 in the first half. It was a tough first half all around for Syracuse, but for Connecticut, Maya Moore and Tina Charles put together 31 points. And how were the points scored? Well, they did it in transition. They passed the ball very efficiently. This team had 17 assists on 21 points. And of course, Connecticut with a very good defense. Kalena Green with a nice move there behind the back. And Connecticut continuing to roll. Tina Charles having her way on the inside. Sending a little message to the freshman Kayla Alexander, let her know who's boss up in the building.
Tina Charles just spectacular on 10 of 11 in that first half. And as you can imagine, they had the advantage in fast break points and paint points. They assisted on 17 of 21 field goals. And one of the things they're so good at is the points off of turnovers, 16 of them in the first half. Over the course of the season, almost a third of their scoring comes off of turnovers. That's how good the defense has been. Now let's take a look at the players on the floor, presented by New York Life. Same starting 5 for Connecticut, and the same 5 will go for the Orange. Maya Moore with the pull-up. She needs 3 points for 2,000 in her career. And Charles is fouled on the shot.
Foul is charged to Syracuse, number 32, Nicole Michael.
The shooting from Syracuse down to 18%. They settled for a lot of quick shots, Beth. We saw Erica Morrow charge down the floor and release a bunch of shots early. And the assists, look, I mean, Syracuse can't even move the ball very well because they're constantly turning it over. 11 in the first half for the Cuse, who were not able to get Nicole Michael involved. They couldn't get Erica Morrow involved, but the bright spot for them was Kayla Alexander. She was actually 3 of 3 in the first half. And speaking of stats, let's keep our eye on Maya Moore because she is 1 rebound and 4 assists away from a triple-double.
You're talking about not only playing just an outstanding team, but as Charles tried to finish off the Moore assist, you're also talking about 2 players in Tina Charles and Maya Moore that will be the 2 all-time leading scorers in the school's history before they leave. And both have a very good shot at being U.S. Olympians, playing for Gino Auriemma in a couple of summers in London.
Well, 10 Huskies have been named to the pool for national team candidates. Tina Charles, Maya Moore, and that also includes Swin Cash, Renee Montgomery, and of course 2 of the greatest UConn Huskies ever, Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird.
Maya Moore with the steal. Moore with the lay-in, and she's over 2,000 points for her career, the junior from the Atlanta area. And she joins teammate Tina Charles in the 2,000-point club.
How about Connecticut playing a 1-2-2 zone to start this second half, too? That's a different look.
They force another turnover. Hayes had stepped out of bounds first, and here's another look at the 2,000 points.
So many times, this is how she scores in transition, too. And we talk a bunch about how Connecticut does not take a play off, and that is one of the hardest working young women in this game. So I have so much respect for her game because of that. She's good, she's great, she's extremely talented, but she works so hard, and she wants to get better every day that she shows up on the floor. And that's one of the reasons this team does so well, because they follow the lead of Moore and Tina Charles, who understand it's about working hard every day. It's not just about the talent that they have been naturally given.
Maya Moore loves playing against the Orange. Her 1,000th point against the Cuse, her 2,000th point against the Cuse.
And Beth, you and I were witnesses last year as Connecticut took on Syracuse here. Maya Moore dropped 10 threes against the Orange, and that was something to see. Yeah. The last 2 outings, she's had 78 points against this team. And you know, sometimes you just go up against a certain team and you like the way that they guard, or in this case, maybe don't guard you so well. And Syracuse has struggled against outside shooting, and you know, just look at the career she's had
against Syracuse in 3 games before today. 30 points, 16 rebounds, and over 60% from beyond the arc.
Yeah, Maya Moore, as much as she can score, is only averaging 18.5 points a game this season.
Miranda Green with the finish. Moore right now has the best scoring average for a career in Husky history over the course of her 3 seasons. Basket and the foul is going to go against UConn.
Goalies good. With goal from Young Murray. Charge the foul at number 31. Tina Charles. Her second. Team has 1.
It's going to be number 2 on Tina Charles.
Well, the drama surrounding this matchup is continuously fizzling out as they match up against each other. A few years ago, Syracuse had a great chance to knock off Connecticut. The next year they played was Maya Moore's 10 threes, and there was a little chatter beforehand about how we're not intimidated by Connecticut. We don't think they're that great of a team. Pretty sure Connecticut put the stamp on that #1 ranking and said, go ahead and take a look at that scoreboard.
Then Erica Morrow threw a punch at one of the Husky players in the meeting earlier this year. She was ejected for the rest of that game and the next game, and Erica is just 0 for 11 today against Connecticut. But really, there was no opportunity for that bad blood to boil, and Maya Moore rejecting Murray. 5th block for the Huskies.
You may get by one, but you got to deal with the other. Ball fake to get Tina Charles off, but the dynamic duo of her and Maya Moore. Maya's there to back her up and get the block.
Count that one for the Cuse. Reach in on Moore.
Charge the foul at Connecticut, number 23, Maya Moore. Her 3rd, team has 2. Murray at the line for the Orange. Watch out.
Murray at the line. Syracuse will keep it. Really here in this second half, UConn has been in control throughout as they try and tie the NCAA career consecutive wins record with their 70th in a row. Caroline Doty. Hayes, the left-hander, thought about it. Doty probing the baseline. It'll come out of play. UConn with the throw-in.
Timeout.
We'll take a timeout here. Under 16 to go. 52-21. Huskies on top. Tina Charles with 21, and Maya Moore with the 2,000th point of her career. Welcome back to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, and the 2010 Big East Women's Basketball Championship presented by New York Life Insurance Company. Let's check in now with Bob Picozzi.
Okay, Beth, one thing Syracuse coach Quentin Hilsman never has to worry about is whether Erica Morrow is mentally prepared to play. She focuses very easily because she meditates. She said the whole thing started when she enrolled in a class called Cognitive Approaches to Stress Reduction. And in her first class, she said the teacher took the students outside onto the Syracuse quad, and Otto, the orange mascot, happened to be nearby and came over and started mimicking the students while they were meditating. But Erica takes it very seriously, says she does it 3 times a day, before morning class, before afternoon practice, and before she goes to bed at night. But Beth and Brooke, I'd be willing to bet that when she meditated last night, she didn't envision herself going 0 for 11 and her team losing by 31 points.
Probably not the way it played out in her mind. And a rough start for Syracuse. UConn jumped out quickly, and they have not taken their foot off the gas.
I'd imagine maybe they should call a couple timeouts, put them together so they can have a meditation session over there on the bench.
Weak side foul on the rebound.
Foul is charged to
Maya Moore,
Syracuse, number 15,
4 assists away from just the second triple-double in UConn history, and Laura Lishnas did it. And that was actually in the Big East tournament. Back in March of 1989, there have been 2 of them in tournament play. Sabrina Johnson of St. John's also in that 89 tournament with a triple-double.
And Maya Moore, who only averages 28 minutes a game, could probably get a lot closer to a few more triple-doubles if she were to stay in some games. And you know, usually it's not too long after halftime that Connecticut has a comfortable 20 or 50-point lead. Who knows what it will be usually at halftime, but a complete player as there is in Maya Moore.
Well, that's why it's difficult sometimes to compare their statistics to other teams, because they don't have anybody that's playing more than 28 minutes a game. Tiffany Hayes with the left hand. She'll head to the line. Morrow whistled for the foul.
Foul is charged to Syracuse, number 21, Erica Morrow. Second, team has 3.
Maya Moore picked up another assist. So she now has 7, 3 away from the triple-double. The ESPN Academic All-American of the Year, joining Jennifer Rosati and our very own Rebecca Lobo as a prior UConn honorees. That is the top of the top. Not only you have to be an All-American on the court to qualify, and then you got to be the smartest of the All-Americans, and that's Maya Moore.
Moore with a 3.7 GPA on the year too, and you know there's so much demanded of you as a college athlete, but under the kind of spotlight that UConn has to be in every single day, and with news and camera crews here every other second, people are always wanting to interview the team and her, and the kind of attention they even get on the road. It's really amazing for somebody to be so good in the classroom and so good on the court. Can't imagine Maya Moore has much free time to do much else.
Foul charged to Syracuse, number 44, Carmen Tyson Thomas, her first personal foul. Team has 4. 32, Elena Green at the line for Connecticut.
There you see Moore with the highest scoring average at 18.6, better than Renee Nigerian, Carrie Bascom, and Lobo, and they're at 16.9. That's over the course of their 4-year careers. already leaving her mark. How about a record? 103-2 here at Connecticut. Only losses to Stanford and Rutgers. The sophomores haven't lost. They're 69-0 in their Husky careers.
And these are a bunch of players who came from very successful high school careers, and in some cases may have not even lost a game throughout high school. So they're only used to success, and you know, they handle close games well. They handle physical games well. There's always been questions about how will Connecticut do down the stretch if there's a tight game. Well, there really hasn't been a tight game just yet down the stretch. But I like the way that they came out and played against Georgetown. You know, Georgetown didn't play scared whatsoever. They walked in this building, they led for a couple minutes. But Connecticut responded and played physical themselves, led by that lady right there, 31, Tina Charles.
25.6 rebounds for Tina. They are looking for an NCAA record-tying 70th win in a row and a date with Notre Dame in the Big East semis tomorrow. Syracuse settling back into the zone. Orange Nation now will sit back and ponder their fate. Will it be the NCAA, or will it be perhaps a home date in the NIT?
Well, you'd have to think at this point, even though they got that great win over West Virginia and knocked off Providence yesterday, that they're probably looking at an NIT bid. Because when you finish in the middle of the pack in the Big East, this year, they are strong. They aren't quite as strong as they were last year. And that strength of schedule, boy, that's something that's really going to hurt them, I think, down the road. 118. I'm not sure that's going to get you the nod. That Villanova loss is a bad one, too.
They do have the big win against West Virginia, and when considered with some of the other teams in the middle of the pack, we'll see what happens if there are a lot of upsets around the mid-major world that could affect how the Cuse will end up. And Maya Moore leaves with 4 personal fouls. 16 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. Charles also is out with 25 today.
Well, you and I had talked about this earlier, Beth, with some of the bigger conferences. You know, Iowa State making it to the finals, Kentucky making it to the finals. Doesn't really bode well for Syracuse's chances, because they need the big guys to finish well in those conferences and not some of the middle of the pack making the surprise runs like how NC State did in the ACC finals.
Congratulations to the Duke Blue Devils, by the way. They punched their ticket as ACC champions with a 10-point win today over NC State. The Big Ten and the SEC will hand out their invites later today. This is the second of our 4 today. 2 more quarterfinals coming up, starting at 6 Eastern with DePaul and number 9 West Virginia. And then at 8, it's Rutgers and number 11 Georgetown. The Hoyas having an outstanding campaign led by freshman of the year, Sugar Rogers. West Virginia, tremendous balance led by Liz Rapella and a very good freshman class. The 2 higher seeds in action tonight.
Great job by Mike Carey to rally that team. Another team that was not expected to finish where they did in the Big East. And you know, he talks to us all the time about how much he really likes this team and the chemistry that these ladies have together. And that's something that I don't feel like gets talked about enough when you look at good teams. And if you look at the teams that are still left in this tournament, I mean, obviously Connecticut plays so well together. They like each other. Notre Dame the same way, and even St. John's, who lost to Notre Dame earlier. And they all hang out outside of the game of basketball. And simply just being around one another and bonding in that sense can really transfer over to the court and help you make plays when you need them down the stretch.
Fouls charged to Connecticut, number 5.
Cuse will head to the line here. Paul
Personal foul. Team
shoot
has
a couple.
4. Alicia Paul, the line for Syracuse. 2 shots. The 31, Tina Charles, back into the Huskies, replacing number 32, Delaney Green.
Charles comes back on for Green. a quick turnaround for Connecticut. They'll play again tomorrow at 6 o'clock against Notre Dame. They have been getting some good training for the NCAA tournament, by the way. On 3 separate occasions this year, they had back-to-back games within 48 hours against ranked opponents, including playing Notre Dame and then Duke in January, St. John's and then Oklahoma in February, and then Georgetown and Notre Dame in early March in under a 2-day period against ranked opponents. And that's what they could face as we get into NCAA tournament play.
And that's an issue we haven't even discussed for Syracuse today, but this is their 3rd game in 3 days for a team that doesn't run too deep on the bench. They do play a lot of their youngsters, but Nicole Michael, their leading scorer and rebounder, pretty much ineffective with that foot injury. You can see what kind of toll it's had on Syracuse.
Tyson Thomas drains the 3.
Tyson Thomas.
Syracuse with a couple of freshmen that they're very excited about. Of course, Kayla Alexander leading the pack, but Tyson Thomas starting to make some noise for the Cuse. They like her.
61-27, UConn on top of Syracuse, under 11 to go. We'll talk with Jamel Elliott, the head coach of Cincinnati and former Husky, when we come back. Welcome back inside the XL Center in Hartford. Championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Quarterfinal play here at the Women's Championship presented by New York Life. 61-27, UConn with the lead, and a familiar face around these parts. Now in her first season at the University of Cincinnati, Jamel Elliott, congratulations on getting the program headed back in the right direction. What were some of the things that you learned as a player and an assistant here that you've tried to lay the foundation for at Cincinnati?
Well, that's exactly it. Just laying the foundation and, teamwork and, competitiveness and doing things the right way every time. And, I've been here in Connecticut for a long time, and I know he accepts nothing less than that. So I'm trying to, copy him as much as I can, and hopefully I can as far as, the success that he's had here at Connecticut.
Coach, what's the transition been like for you, spending so many years on the Connecticut bench and coming back here as a coach for an opposing player? I hear the fans were happy to see you make a run in the tournament.
Well, obviously it was a little different. We came back here in January to play Connecticut up on Stores on campus, so that was really weird going back to campus. But coming back here the second time, I knew we would have fans cheering for us, and they really supported us in our first game. We was able to get a win out of South Florida, so it's just great to be back to be amongst family.
Beth Mullins along with Brooke Weisbrod and Jamel Elliott now joining us courtside. Rebecca Lobo and Bob Picozzi are also with us today. And Jamel, does it look different now from the outside looking in as an opponent as opposed to being over there on the bench with the Huskies?
Well, I tell you what, when you're part of the coaching staff, Coach Oriema does a good job of keeping the players humble and not, allowing, them to worry about the streaks and the wins and things like that. But, now I was on the inside looking out. Now I'm on the outside looking in. And to me, they look like the best team in the world to me, especially when we had to play them early on in Stores.
Not to give up any trade secrets here in Huskyville, but what are a couple of things that you know coming in you actually have to do well in order to beat UConn? And we're going to ask you that question again when we come back. We got to take a quick timeout here as there's a timeout on the floor at the Big East Championships. 63-27, UConn with the lead, and former Husky legend Jamel Elliott joining us courtside now with the coach at Cincinnati. And we were talking before the break, what are a couple of things that you know coming in that you have to be able to do well to compete against UConn?
Well, number one is you can't lose the game before you step out on the basketball court. I think a lot of times teams that play Connecticut, they hear about them, how good they are as a team, and they already get psyched out and they lose the game before they step on the court. So that's the main thing, is just going in with confidence and not worrying about what's on their shirts and, what they've done in the past, because if you do that, you've already lost the game. So, that's the main thing. And, when you go out there, you just got to hit them when they hit you. You can't back down, and you got to take every punch and be ready to fight back.
Is there a team outside of the Big East you feel like might be able to give UConn a tough run?
Well, you know what? I'm a little afraid of Stanford, obviously. You know, I know Connecticut had some success with them, you know, early on this year, but Stanford's a really good basketball team. They're solid. They have some really good players. So that's one team I'm afraid of. And also Nebraska. I mean, they've really come out of nowhere, and they playing great as a team. And they, you know, they really have it going, and they have been all year long. So those are the teams that, you know, jump out to me right now. But if the Connecticut plays the type of game that they're capable of playing, I think it's going to be hard for anybody to beat them.
Tina Charles with 29 today. Maya Moore, 16 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Jamel, you were an assistant for Connecticut during the first streak of 70 wins in a row. And Gino's talked about how difficult that second year was with Diana Taurasi carrying such a heavy load. What do you remember from what it was like on a daily basis trying to deal with that?
Well, you know, after you win a championship, you know, after the following year, everybody's really gunning for you. You know, everybody's going to play their best game against you. And, you know, people are talking about the streak, and you are trying to not think about it and talk about it, but it's always there. You know, and I remember back, you know, Villanova broke our streak back during that time, a team that probably wasn't as talented as us, but, you know, they came out and they had a good night that night. So, you know, that's the thing about women's basketball. You know, it's anybody's game any given night. So I'm just hoping these guys stay focused, because, you know, it's that time of the year where, you know, it's one and done. So, you know, they can't afford to lose a basketball game now if they want to get to where they want to go.
Where do you put Tina Charles on the list of all-time Husky greats? Is she at or very close to the top?
Absolutely. You know, right now, obviously, she's at the top with points and rebounds. And, you know, just watching her this year, she's taken her game to a whole nother level. I think she's more focused, more energetic, you know, more demanding the ball like I've never seen her before. And she's playing with a lot of confidence. So I'm just happy to see that, because I've seen her when she first came to Connecticut to now, and she's like grown leaps and bounds, and I'm really proud of her.
What's been her biggest improvement over the 4 years she's been here?
Her aggressiveness, you know, her demanding the ball, and, you know, not only before she was the best player on the court and she didn't know it. Now she's the best player on the court and she knows it, and she's playing like that, and I think that's really taking her game to another level.
Congratulations to Tina. She checks out, tying her career high with 34 points. And Jamel, who wins it? Your 95 team or this team?
It's nobody better than our 95 team. And I got one of my teammates, actually Karen Walters and Rebecca's here today.
So I got suit up.
Yeah, I have two people that can back me up with that one.
Rosati's across town. I think she's playing right now, but you can get her post game.
So we got 4 starters from that 95 team, and it's in Hartford right now. We can take them anytime.
I want to see a scrimmage tomorrow.
Where's Pam? We got to find Pam.
Yeah,
right?
she's the only one we're missing. Yeah, Pam Weber.
Pam Weber. Well, thank you so much. We know now that you're no longer with the UConn contingent, you've actually got to work out on the recruiting trail. Best of luck to you with Cincinnati in the years to come.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Jamel Elliott, the third leading rebounder all time, I believe, behind Tina Charles and Rebecca Lobo. You're third best in the house today.
Every time I talk to her now.
Oh, you can remind her that you got her to where she is today.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Jamel Elliott coming back to the Big East tournament as the first-year head coach with the Cincinnati Bearcats. Beth Bowens along with Brooke Weisbrod, Rebecca Lobo, Bob Picozzi in the house, and there is the list of the top 3. Tina passing by Elliott and Lobo. Well, you talk to a lot of the players, though, that have come through, particularly the frontline players at Connecticut, and Jamel Elliott gets an awful lot of credit for helping them evolve their games over the course of their 4-year careers.
And she absolutely should. And watching her on the sidelines as a coach, seeing the intensity that she's going to bring. And that program for Cincinnati, I tell you what, that place is on the rise. And she talked about how important it is for her to start going after some of the local recruits there. Cincinnati is a nice hotbed for women's basketball. Ohio and overall, I mean, she said, you know, we've got Tennessee in our back door trying to take our local kids. And Cincinnati's got a lot of great facilities there. I don't remember a time that there hasn't been construction going on at that place with new buildings, new facilities. They had a couple of 2 seeds, Xavier and Ohio State from the state of Ohio. They have got the right coach in the right place in that city. And Kevin McGuff at Xavier has done a fantastic job. He, of course, was an assistant at Notre Dame for a very long time. He's done well there, and Cincinnati's continuing to get better as a city for women's basketball.
We'll see Muffet McGraw and Notre Dame tomorrow against the winner of this one, which certainly appears to be Connecticut at this point. The #1 Huskies looking for their 70th win in a row. That ties their own NCAA record, and then the Irish will have a shot to snap it tomorrow. Notre Dame, however, is 0-7 in the Big East tournament against Connecticut. All Huskies today. Tina Charles tying her career high with 34. Tina Charles with a career high 34, a new Big East record, 16 field goals today to lead UConn. Maya Moore, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. And looks like it's set now. Notre Dame and Connecticut. The Huskies will take their 70-game winning streak into the Big East semifinals and a chance to set a NCAA record with 71 in a row. And there's a look at the junior Maya Moore out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. You talk about efficiency. She's averaging almost 19 a game, and she only needs 13 shots to do it. Very rarely does she waste any effort. We asked her the other day, what is it like to be making history while you're actually doing it? And here was her thought on that.
Making history while you're doing it it can be an uncomfortable place because it's somewhere you've never been. You know, when you're making something for the first time, there's kind of an exciting, kind of a nervous, you know, not necessarily anxiety, but just kind of a nervous, exciting, don't really know, haven't been here before.
And she capped it off by saying, you know, that unknown, you can either fall victim to the fear and panic, or you can embrace that challenge. And certainly, she's an embracer.
You know, I would never have expected her to sound so soft-spoken just simply by watching her play. And you know she's a very nice kid off the court, very modest. But just watching that interview and watching the way she plays, it's almost like a little Jekyll and Hyde. It's just Mr. Nice Guy versus get out of my way, I'm on the floor. And that would be a weird position. You know, you think about all the attention that they're starting to get, and they on the outside handle it very well. But at some point in time, it's got to hit these ladies that they are a part of something extremely special. And obviously the way this game's going, they've got a chance to make some real history tomorrow. And that's a big news. I mean, that's a big deal in the world of college basketball.
Well, at a place where there's a lot of tradition, it's easy to follow the lead of those that have come before you. And these players talk a lot about how the alums will come back to watch practice or to get a run in during the offseason. They're always talking about, you know, maintaining what has been built here and then taking it to a whole nother level.
And that's what this team has done, because, you know, Connecticut has come from a long line of winning teams, but at one point in time, this school did not see a lot of wins. Gino Auriemma took over the program 24 seasons ago, and he has built this team into a dynamic powerhouse where people do not expect anything less than the best anymore from the UConn Huskies.
That's what's made him a Naismith Hall of Famer. Lumpkin's looking for three. And Notre Dame, as we heard from Muffet McGraw at halftime with Bob and Rebecca, they're going to have to find a way to try and score with Connecticut, which they have been unable to do. The seniors at Notre Dame have never beaten UConn, so they won't have anybody on the floor with any experience of what it takes to beat them.
And as good as they are offensively, averaging 83 points a game, they are holding their opponents to just 47 points a game. And that's on pace to break their previous record of 51 points a game. So you've got to worry about how good they are in offense, but you forget how tough it is on your own floor just to score a basket. I mean, teams are only shooting 30% from the floor and 25% from behind the arc.
Under 6 minutes to go. We've got two more quarterfinals coming up tonight, featuring West Virginia and Georgetown, the 2 and 3 seeds in the tournament. Also get a look at a very good DePaul team led by Sam Quigley, and then a Rutgers team that's fighting for a spot in the NCAA tournament. Vivian Stringer was pleased last night after their win with the offense they played. And oh, what a terrific pass! And the basket! Dixon with the finish, Fernandez with the assist. And for the senior Jackie Fernandez, that'll go on the highlight reel.
One of the fan favorites. I'm sure she's picked that up along the way from Miss Moore and company, but this is what I love to see right here. Look at how excited those starters are on the bench. And that's what makes this team so special, is that they all buy into each other's success, and they love to see everybody do well on this team. That was just tremendous effort by Jackie Fernandez, and great job by the team to support it.
25 assists on 32 baskets today. #1 in the country this year in assists. We saw a Notre Dame team that over the course of their first 2 games assisted on 72% of their baskets, 78% today for Connecticut.
Well, you and I have been able to watch some incredible basketball today, and the passing between Connecticut and Notre Dame, I certainly hope this carries over to tomorrow, because this has been some fun hoops to watch.
The starters over on that Husky bench, led by Tina Charles, who, by the way, her 34 points is still more than Syracuse has scored today with 4:30 to go. And the Huskies will get ready for Notre Dame. Fighting Irish got 21 today from Skylar Diggins. 13 from Devereaux Peters, who's coming on strong. Lindsay Schrader finished with 10. As they talked about after the game, I think Barlow and Schrader and that senior contingent, Melissa Leitner, they're really going to have to come up with the games of their lives tomorrow to do it. Try to end the streak.
Well, 2 incredible things have to happen. Like you said, Beth, they've got to have the game of their lives and basically play a mistake-free game of basketball. And they have to hope that Tina Charles and Maya Moore have off nights, as well as 3 or 4 other players that can hurt you on any given night, but certainly Tina Charles and Maya Moore, the 2 main culprits for points for the Huskies. You just got to hope that they can miss shots and you can rebound and then have very efficient offensive possessions.
Shot is blocked by Kayla Alexander. The Irish have yet to beat Connecticut in Big East tournament play. They're 0 for 7. Heading into tomorrow's semifinal showdown. Dixon took a shot on the head there on the way to the bucket. Kayla Alexander continuing to fight. 3:39 to play. #1 Connecticut going to improve to 31-0. And their 70th consecutive win and a career high for Tina Charles. The State House here in the capital of Connecticut. We're in Hartford in the XL Center for the Big East quarterfinals. Connecticut on their way to a 70th win in a row over Syracuse. Here's Bob Picozzi.
Okay, Beth, Tina Charles was the National Freshman of the Year her senior year in high school, the National Freshman of the Year following her first season at UConn. But by the time her sophomore season ended, she was no longer even in the starting lineup. But a year later, by the end of her junior year, everything had changed. She finally started to believe how great she truly could be. Last April, she was named the most outstanding player in the Final Four and has been absolutely dominant throughout this her senior year. Tina said she wanted to be known as the greatest center in UConn history. And since she has broken the school career scoring and rebounding records, one would have to conclude that she has accomplished just that. But Beth and Brooke, from now on, when people discuss Tina Charles, they no longer mention the word potential. They use the word greatness.
That's absolutely right, Bob, and a player that we may see in the USA Olympic jersey in a couple of years. Probably will be the top draft choice in the WNBA and play with the Connecticut Sun next year. told us the other day that her favorite moment during the streak was after celebrating with her teammates. She embraced with Gino Auriemma after winning the national championship, and he whispered in her, "Hey, are you happy? Because everything we've put you through, that's all we've wanted for you." And she said, "Yes, I'm absolutely happy." She was thrilled to have earned his respect and the respect of the coaching staff. And, you know, once that light went on, she's just been a terror all season. The Big East Player of the Year. She's got to be the front runner for the State Farm Wade Trophy this year.
And although Connecticut, of course, enjoyed so much success in her early years, you know, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel sometimes when you're going through some hard times and trying to work hard to become a better player. The coaches seem to be on you all of a sudden, and you don't feel like anybody's on your side. But Tina Charles has done a great job of accepting the criticism. And Tina Charles said, you know, Coach Auriemma believed in my game, and he never gave up on me. And we see what a great player she has become because of how hard the coaches were on her, but her willingness to accept that challenge and to make herself a better player. And she just continues to get better. Next year, I would imagine also she'll be that #1 pick in the WNBA draft, and will be able to play now with her old point guard, Renee Montgomery.
And we've talked a lot about Charles and Moore today, but for the rest of the team, Doty, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Hayes, 7 points, 5 rebounds. Green, 7 and 5. Ferris with 5 rebounds off the bench. So they've been getting contributions from around that lineup. Held ball will go to Connecticut.
Possession to Connecticut.
So far during the streak, there's the breakdown by points, and the one down at the bottom is the biggie. Nobody's come within 10 points of them in the last 2 years. The Irish have come the closest. They and Rutgers lost by 10 last year. Hall's pull-up is good.
Rutgers, of course, having a down season this year, but I feel like they're always one of those teams when they enter postseason play, they become all that much more dangerous. And Vivian Stringer now has basically opened up the offense for her team, saying, you know, I'm going to let you play as you want to. And sometimes that's very effective for that kind of team. I know she's tried some different tactics with this team this year, and they're just really struggling to find a consistent scorer, but you never know, they may blossom in this tournament.
UConn will be seeking their 71st win in a row and a new NCAA record tomorrow. They'll face the Fighting Irish and try and set a new standard and break their own record. Catch the action tomorrow at 6 Eastern with Dave O'Brien, Doris Burke, Rebecca Lobo. We'll be right here for you on ESPNU. Another 2 minutes to go to put the finishing touches on this one. They'll clear out the house and then get ready for the double dip tonight. And the intrigue on the other side of the bracket with DePaul, West Virginia, and Rutgers, Georgetown this evening. And those lucky teams that got on the other side of the bracket from Connecticut. And who's going to bust through to the finals?
Yeah, big sigh of relief from those guys when they realized they'd be in the bottom half of the brackets. We'll take an 8 o'clock game any day over having to play against UConn.
Officials are getting together to talk this out. Of course, this is a big weekend at the movies as well, the Academy Awards. And here's a little tail of the tape for you with Gino Auriemma and James Cameron. I like the breakout stars, Diana Taurasi and Leo DiCaprio. Oscars are tonight on ABC.
I always like watching the follow-up shows on the Fashion Police. Joan Rivers does one now, and she had Khloe Kardashian on the last time. They had me cracking up. Those two will just absolutely rip on a celebrity, and they don't care.
You sound like you want to telestrate that event.
I kind of do. I mean, I don't have much fashion sense at all compared to those two, but I'd love to just sit there and laugh.
Maybe they can auction off one of Gino's ties. You know, he's doing that now for the KLWBCA Cancer Fund as a bit of a moneymaker. That's a pretty good one. That Paisley.
He's not looking very happy. Connecticut up by so much, you'd think he'd have a smile on his face. Look at him still coaching over there. He is sitting down, though. That's a big change of pace for Gino.
Under a minute now to go. The Huskies will improve to 31-0. And a date with Notre Dame in the Big East tournament semifinals. Got 2 more games coming up for you tonight. There you see the one semi is set. Monday at 6 Eastern on ESPNU. And then coming up later tonight here at the XL Center, the 2-seed West Virginia against DePaul and the 3-seed Georgetown against Rutgers. West Virginia featuring all Big East performer Liz Rapella. Rutgers has the freshman, or Georgetown rather, has the freshman of the year in Sugar Rogers. Justin Kutcher and Meg Bulger will join Picosi and company for those games tonight. Crowd on its feet at the XL Center. A career-high 34 points for Tina Charles. Maya Moore flirting with a triple-double today. And it's been all Huskies as they will close it out here at home and move on to the semifinals. The UConn Huskies have done it again. 70 wins in a row to tie their own NCAA record. They'll go for a record-breaking 71 tomorrow in the semis against Notre Dame. They tie the record they set in 2003. It's 70 straight since the start of last season. 39-0 a year ago, and now 31-0 heading into the semis.
Great performance today, Beth. So impressed by the way they started on fire and never let up for a possession today. Great job by the Huskies to come out and get it done early.
Session, also the semifinals and finals.
77-41 the final for UConn. Let's go courtside now with Rebecca Lobo.
Coach, you just tied your own NCAA record with 70 wins in a row. What does this mean to the UConn program?
You know, I don't know what it means. You know, we've done something that's pretty unique and very difficult to do, and you know, we've done it twice. It's hard enough to do it once. So I'm really proud of our players. I'm really happy for them because they've worked really, really hard. The streak is a byproduct of all that. It's got nothing to do with us trying to do it. It just happened, and you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
And tomorrow we have a chance to make history again against Notre Dame. You know, what has been the hardest part of maintaining this level of success?
I don't know that there's been a hard part other than trying to make sure that everybody's focused on the next possession rather than what everybody's talking about, the streak or the number of wins or any of that stuff. That's what we went into the game with tonight. Just, you know, try to win the next possession. And if we can do that, then whatever happens, happens. You know, tomorrow we got Notre Dame. We don't have number 71.
How would you best describe what this team has done and what it has accomplished the last 2 seasons? You don't want your team talking about it, but can you talk about it for us?
You know, when I look back on it, the more I think about it, it's pretty amazing that we were able to go this long and not necessarily have an off night. You know, we show up to play every night. They listen in practice. They want to do what you ask them to do. The scouting report, they pay attention. They take it personal out here. And today's day and age, it's hard to get people to do that. So they bought into it completely, 100%. And, you know, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But we're a pretty good group right now, and I'm pretty happy for them.
All right, Coach.
Thanks,
you.
Rebecca.
Beth.
Thank you, Rebecca. 70 for Connecticut. 77-41 is the final. Tina Charles was 16 for 19, a new Big East tournament record with the 16 field goals, 34 points, tying her career high. And Maya Moore was flirting with a triple-double throughout the day today. 16 points, 14 rebounds, and the 17 assists. Just an outstanding performance from those two All-Americans, and obviously too much for Syracuse to handle today.
Well, it was their third game in days, and without their leading scorer and rebounder, Nicole Michael, just not at full force. She's been dealing with a foot issue, but I tell you what, there's really not much Syracuse could have done, because Connecticut started this game absolutely on fire, and they did not let up for one possession, and they played as strong as they could for 40 minutes of basketball.
So now it's on to Notre Dame, and a chance for the Irish to end the streak and do something they haven't done in Big East tournament play, and that is knock off Connecticut. They are in the first semifinal tomorrow at 6 Eastern on ESPNU. We've got two more games for you tonight here on ESPNU, with West Virginia DePaul at 6 and Georgetown Rutgers coming up tonight at 8 o'clock to determine the other semifinal Monday night at 8 Eastern. 77-41, the final. Connecticut a winner over Syracuse. This has been an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next on ESPNU is Saturday Primetime, presented by DirecTV in the ACC with North Carolina and Duke. For Bob Picozzi, Brooke Weisbrod, and Rebecca Lobo, I'm Beth Mowens. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here at 6 with Justin Kutcher and Meg Bulger for more of the quarterfinals.